I never thought 3 weeks could change my entire life. When I left for my urgent business trip, everything was normal, or at least I thought it was. My wife, Emily, kissed me goodbye at the airport, whispering the usual, "Take care, love, I'll be waiting." But she wasn't. The moment my plane landed back in town, I felt an unusual restlessness. It wasn't just fatigue from the long flight. It was something deeper, something gnawing at me. I tried to shake it off as I grabbed my luggage and hailed a cab. I had been gone only 21 days. Nothing could have changed so drastically, or so I believed. As the cab pulled up in front of my house, I froze. My heart thudded against my ribs. There, hanging on the door, was a sign in bold black letters that felt like a punch to my gut. "You have no right here anymore." I stared at the words, unable to breathe. My hands trembled as I reached for the doorknob, only to find it locked. A cold chill ran through me. What the hell was happening? I banged on the door. "Emily! Open up! What is this?" My voice echoed in the empty street. Silence. The curtains inside shifted slightly. Someone was watching. Someone was there. And then the door creaked open. But it wasn't Emily standing there. It was another man. Tall, confident, wearing a shirt I recognized. My shirt. His eyes met mine with an expression so calm, so unmoved, it sent fire raging through my veins. "You shouldn't have come back," he said, leaning casually against the doorframe. My breath hitched. My stomach twisted into knots. Who the hell was he? And why was he standing inside my home? "Where is my wife?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He smirked. "Your wife?" He chuckled like I had told a joke. "You mean Emily? She doesn't belong to you anymore." The words slammed into me like a freight train. I took a step forward, but he blocked the doorway effortlessly. "I suggest you leave," he said. "This isn't your home now. She made her choice." My heart clenched. My body went numb. This couldn't be real. Just 3 weeks ago, Emily was my wife, my life, my everything. And now I was standing in front of my own house, being told I no longer had a place in it. What happened while I was gone? And more importantly, why did my wife erase me from her life so easily? My body refused to move. My mind kept rejecting the scene in front of me. This was my house, my wife, my life. And yet, here I stood, unwanted. I clenched my fists. "Where is Emily?" My voice was hoarse, unrecognizable even to myself. The man smirked again, that same damn arrogance radiating off him. "She's inside," he said, crossing his arms over his chest. "But she doesn't want to see you." "I don't believe you." My hands trembled as I reached for my phone. I dialed Emily's number. It rang once, twice. Then, "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." My fingers stiffened around the phone. No, this couldn't be happening. "She changed her number." My voice cracked. The man leaned against the doorframe, a cruel amusement dancing in his eyes. "Yeah, she changed a lot of things while you were gone." A wave of nausea hit me. My knees felt weak. 3 weeks, I whispered, more to myself than to him. "I was gone for just 3 weeks." He shrugged. That was enough. A surge of anger boiled inside me. I shoved past him, barging into the house. My house. But the moment I stepped inside, I realized this wasn't mine anymore. Everything had changed. The furniture was different. The walls, once adorned with pictures of us, our wedding, vacations, anniversaries, were wiped clean. The scent of vanilla candles, Emily's favorite, had been replaced by something else. Something unfamiliar, masculine. It felt like I had walked into a stranger's home. Then I saw her. Emily. She stood at the far end of the living room, dressed in a sweater I had never seen before, holding a cup of tea. But what shattered me the most wasn't her outfit, or even the fact that she was standing beside another man. It was her eyes. There was no shock, no guilt, no regret. She looked at me like I was a ghost from a past she had long forgotten. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her tone flat. A hollow laugh escaped my lips. "Are you seriously asking me that?" I gestured around. "This is my house, Emily. My home. My life. You are my wife. Something flickered in her expression, something distant, unreadable. "Not anymore," she murmured. The world tilted. My breath came in ragged gasps. "What the hell does that mean?" I snapped. "I was gone for 3 weeks. Just 3 damn weeks, Emily. And you—" I motioned toward the man. "You replaced me?" She flinched at my tone, but her resolve didn't break. "It wasn't like that, Nathan." "Then how was it?" My voice wavered. "Explain it to me, because right now I feel like I've just stepped into a nightmare." Her grip tightened around the teacup. She exhaled deeply, then said the words that shattered me beyond repair. "I moved on." A sharp pain stabbed my chest. "In 3 weeks?" My voice cracked. "You moved on in 3 weeks, Emily?" She didn't answer. I turned to the man. "Who the hell are you?" He extended a hand, mockingly polite. "Ryan." I didn't shake it. My fists were clenched so tightly, my nails dug into my palms. "How long?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "How long have you been with her?" Ryan smiled. "Long enough." My stomach twisted. The betrayal felt suffocating. I turned back to Emily. "Tell me the truth." She hesitated. Then with a sigh, she whispered the words that broke me completely. "We started seeing each other before you left." My world went black. The room spun. My body felt weightless, as if the floor beneath me had vanished. Before I left, the words echoed in my head over and over until they became a deafening roar. I looked at Emily, my wife, the woman I had loved, trusted, built a life with. The woman who had smiled at me at the airport and whispered, "I'll be waiting." A bitter laugh escaped my lips. "You were already with him before I left?" My voice cracked, disbelief woven into every word. She didn't answer. She couldn't. "How long, Emily?" My hands trembled at my sides. "How long were you lying to me?" Ryan, the man wearing my shirt, standing in my home, taking my place, placed a hand on Emily's back. My Emily. The sight made my blood boil. "It doesn't matter, Nathan," she said softly. "What's done is done." "It doesn't matter?" My voice rose raw and broken. "I was out there, working, thinking of you every damn day. And you were sleeping next to him? In our bed?" Her gaze flickered with something. Guilt? Pity? But she masked it quickly. "I didn't plan for this to happen," she said. "Then what?" I demanded. "It just happened?" Ryan scoffed. "You should go, man. This conversation is pointless." I turned on him so fast he actually took a step back. "Pointless?" My fist clenched. "That's my wife you stole. That's my life you took over. You don't get to tell me what's pointless." Emily placed a hand on Ryan's arm, defending him, protecting him, just like she used to do with me. The final knife to my gut. "Nathan, please," she sighed. "I don't want this to get ugly." Ugly? She had already burned my life to ashes, and she was worried about things getting ugly. I let out a hollow chuckle. "And what do you want, Emily? Do you want me to just walk away? To pretend the past 5 years of our marriage never happened?" She didn't say anything. "Did you ever love me?" I whispered. Her eyes flickered just for a moment, and in that moment I saw it. Hesitation. A part of her still remembered, still felt something. But it wasn't enough. Her silence told me everything. "You don't have to walk away," Ryan said, smirking. "She already did that for you." That was it. The rage inside me exploded. Before I could think, before I could stop myself, my fist collided with Ryan's jaw. He stumbled back, crashing into the wall, cursing in pain. Emily screamed, "Nathan, stop!" She rushed between us, pushing me back. "What is wrong with you?" I wiped my knuckles against my jeans, my chest heaving. "What's wrong with me?" I repeated. "You betrayed me, Emily. You broke me." She shook her head. "It wasn't working, Nathan. We both know that." I clenched my jaw. I didn't know that, because I was still fighting for us. Her eyes softened, but then Ryan groaned from behind her, rubbing his jaw, and whatever flicker of emotion had been there, vanished. She turned back to him. "Are you okay?" And just like that, I knew. She had already chosen, not me, not us, not the life we built. Her hand was on his chest. Her concern was for him. And I was nothing but a ghost in my own home. I took a step back. My heart ached, my body numb. "You don't have to tell me to leave," I said, my voice hollow. "I can see my way out." I turned toward the door, but before stepping out, I looked over my shoulder one last time. "One day, Emily," I whispered, my voice low but firm, "you're going to regret this." She didn't say anything. I walked out, slamming the door behind me, and just like that, in 3 weeks, my world ended. The cold night air hit my face as I stepped outside. My legs felt weak, but my heart felt even weaker, like it had been ripped from my chest and stomped on. I stood there on the porch, staring at the sign that had greeted me when I arrived. "You have no right here anymore." They were right. I had no right here. Not in the house I paid for, not in the marriage I had built, not in the life I thought was mine. I reached into my pocket, fingers brushing against my phone. Who could I even call? My parents? Number they had warned me about Emily. My best friend James? Number he was halfway across the country. I had no one. A broken laugh escaped me. Funny how quickly life can strip everything away. I turned back, staring at the house one last time. The place where I once woke up every morning, where I used to sit with Emily on the couch watching movies, where we fought, laughed, made love, shared secrets. And now my wife was inside, with him, living the life that was supposed to be mine. The thought made me sick. I started walking, my steps slow, heavy. I didn't even know where I was going. Just away from that house, away from them, away from the realization that I had become nothing but a forgotten memory in the life of the woman I loved. The first night of being nobody. I found myself at a bar, some nameless, dimly lit place on the outskirts of town, the kind of place where no one asked questions. I slid onto a stool, ordered a drink. When the bartender set it down, I just stared at it. What the hell was I supposed to do now? 3 weeks? That's all it took. 3 weeks, and she erased me. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I had been living in a lie for God knows how long. How many times had she smiled at me while secretly thinking of him? How many nights had she told me she loved me while lying in another man's arms? I gripped the glass tighter. A voice pulled me from my thoughts. "Rough night?" I looked up. A woman, late 30s, dark hair, kind eyes, stood next to me, stirring her drink with a straw. "More like a rough life," I muttered. She smirked. "Ah, woman troubles?" I let out a hollow laugh. "Something like that." She took a sip of her drink, watching me. "Want some advice from someone who's been there?" I shrugged. "Why not?" She leaned in slightly. "Don't waste your time drowning in it," I scoffed. "Easier said than done." "Maybe, but trust me, the moment you realize she's not losing sleep over you, you'll stop losing sleep over her." I stared at her. That was the problem. Emily wasn't losing sleep over me. She had already moved on. Meanwhile, I was here, lost, broken, and trying to drink away a reality I couldn't accept. The woman finished her drink and stood up. "Just don't let this be the end of your story." She tossed some cash on the bar and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Her words stuck with me. "Don't let this be the end of your story." I exhaled, running a hand through my hair. Maybe she was right. Maybe this wasn't the end. Maybe this was just the beginning. A plan begins to form. I didn't go home that night. Not that I had a home anymore. Instead, I checked into a cheap motel, threw my bag on the floor, and sat on the edge of the bed staring at the wall. Then I pulled out my phone, scrolled through old pictures, Emily and me, smiling. Happy, or at least I thought we were. I stared at a picture of us on our anniversary. Just 6 months ago, she was in my arms, laughing. Lies. Everything I thought was real was a lie. I clenched my jaw. I was done being the fool. I clicked on Emily's contact. My finger hovered over the call button. Then instead, I deleted her number. I shut my eyes, exhaling deeply. Fine, Emily. You moved on? So will I. But unlike her, I wouldn't betray. I wouldn't forget. I wouldn't erase. I would rise. And when she finally realized what she had thrown away, it would be too late. The morning light crept through the cheap motel blinds, casting long, cold shadows on the walls. I had barely slept. My mind replayed the last 24 hours like a relentless storm. Emily's cold stare, Ryan's smug smirk, the sign on my door that told me I had no right there anymore. I had spent years building a life with her. She spent weeks tearing it apart. But she had made one mistake. She thought I would stay broken. I sat up, my muscles stiff from tension. I wasn't the same man who had stood at that doorstep, begging for answers. That version of me had died last night. Today I was reborn. Emily had erased me from her life so easily. Now it was my turn. Step 1, disappear. If Emily thought I would sit around, drowning in heartbreak while she played house with another man, she was wrong. I wouldn't just move on, I would become someone she wouldn't even recognize. I reached for my phone and started making calls. First, my lawyer. "Nathan, what's going on?" he asked, surprised to hear from me so early. "I need to file for divorce. Immediately." A pause. "Are you sure?" "More than sure. Because if Emily thought she had control over how this ended, she was mistaken. She didn't get to play the victim. She didn't get to walk away untouched." Then I made another call. "James, I need a favor." James was my closest friend, one of the few people I could still trust. He had been out of town, but he knew everything about my business, my finances. "Anything, man. What do you need?" "I need to disappear for a while." A beat of silence. Then, "Say no more. I'll handle everything." That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just break you. It forces you to rebuild. Smarter, stronger, colder. Step 2, let her see what she lost. Emily had taken everything. My house, my trust, my dignity. But there was one thing she couldn't take. Mr. She fell in love with the version of me who adored her. But what happens when the man she betrayed becomes the man she can't ignore? I spent the next few weeks doing what she never expected, rebuilding myself, physically, mentally, financially. I sold the house where she had betrayed me. It was nothing but a graveyard of memories. She could have it. I wanted nothing from that life. I disconnected from everyone who knew us. If she wanted to pretend I didn't exist, I would make sure she actually felt my absence. And then I started doing what I did best, winning. I invested in myself, my work. I expanded my business, traveled, met people, became someone I never had the chance to be while I was busy being Emily's husband. And little by little, whispers started reaching me. Emily was trying to find out about me. She didn't expect me to disappear so completely. She didn't expect me to stop chasing her. She thought I would beg, cry, try to fix what she had shattered. Instead, I became someone she could never touch again. Step 3, the inevitable regret. Months passed. Then one night, the past came knocking. It started with a message. Emily. After months of silence, after tearing my world apart, she reached out. "Hey, Nathan, I just wanted to check in. I hope you're okay." I stared at the message. "Hope I'm okay?" I smirked. The irony wasn't lost on me. She had moved on, right? Found a new life, right? Then why was she reaching out to the husband she had erased? I didn't reply. Then a second message. "Can we talk?" I let it sit there. Unread. Ignored. Just like she had ignored me. I had my answer. Regret had found her. She thought she was the one who moved on. But in the end, she was the one left behind. And this time, she had no right to come back. I stared at the message for a long moment, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Can we talk? Months ago, I would have dropped everything for her. I would have run to her doorstep, begged for an explanation, for closure, for anything. But now I wasn't that man anymore. Emily had made her choice. She had torn me apart without hesitation, replaced me like I never existed. And now, for some reason, she was looking back. But I wasn't. I placed my phone down without responding. She didn't deserve my words. The unexpected encounter fate, however, had a cruel sense of irony. 2 weeks later, I was at a high-profile event, one I had been invited to as a keynote speaker. My business had skyrocketed. Losing Emily wasn't my downfall, it was my rebirth. As I made my way through the crowd, shaking hands, discussing deals, I felt eyes on me. I turned, and there she was. Emily. She looked different. Not in a drastic way, but in a way only I could recognize. There was something missing in her eyes, a shine that once existed when she looked at me. Now that shine was gone. She hesitated before walking toward me. For the first time, she was unsure. Nathan. Her voice was quiet, hesitant. I simply lifted a brow. Emily. She bit her lip. You didn't answer my messages. I didn't see the point. She winced at my cold tone. Good. A beat of silence. Then, can we talk? Please? I should have told her to go to hell. I should have laughed in her face and walked away. But no, instead I let her talk. I wanted to hear the regret in her voice, the regret she never expected to feel. We found ourselves at a quiet corner of the event, away from curious eyes. She took a deep breath. I made a mistake. I almost smiled. Almost. Which part? I asked. Betraying me? Replacing me? Kicking me out of my own house? Pick one. She flinched. I deserve that. You deserve worse. She swallowed hard. Nathan, I was stupid. I thought Ryan was what I needed. I thought I was missing something, but I wasn't. I was just selfish. I leaned back against the wall, arms crossed. And you realize this now? She nodded. Ryan wasn't you? A humorless chuckle left my lips. You figured that out after wrecking my life? She looked down. I should have never done it. I should have never left you. I see that now. I tilted my head, studying her. She looked nervous, hopeful even. She actually thought she could undo the damage. And what do you want, Emily? I asked, voice calm, unreadable. She exhaled. I want to fix things. I want to try again. I stared at her, letting her words sink in. She actually thought she still had a chance. And maybe once upon a time, she would have. But that version of me was dead. I pushed off the wall, stepping closer. She looked up, eyes searching mine, looking for something, hope, forgiveness, an opening. She found nothing. Emily, I said, my voice low but firm. I spent months wondering what I did wrong. I blamed myself. I grieved you like you were dead. I lost everything and had to rebuild from the ashes you left me in. She swallowed hard. I know. I shook my head. No, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't be standing here asking for a second chance. Her eyes widened. Nathan, no, I interrupted. You made your choice. You thought I would always be waiting. You thought I was weak, but you were wrong. A flicker of panic crossed her face. Nathan, I love you. I laughed. You don't get to say that now. Her face crumbled. She wasn't expecting this. She thought I would still be that heartbroken man at her doorstep, begging for answers. She thought I would crumble at her words, but the man standing in front of her was no longer broken. He was free. I leaned in slightly, dropping my voice so only she could hear. You lost me the moment you chose him, and now I promise you, I'll never think of you again. Her lips parted, her breath hitching. For the first time, she felt the loss. I took a step back, gave her one last look, and then I walked away. And this time, she was the one left behind. Final words. The ultimate payback. Nothing haunts people more than realizing they lost something they'll never get back. Emily had walked away from me, believing I was disposable. Now she would live, knowing I was the one thing she could never have again. I didn't need revenge. Her regret was enough. And for the first time in months, as I walked out of that event and into my new life, I smiled, because I had finally won.